Welcome back, everybody. Aggro and Toli now on the desk with you as we get ready for Team Queso up against Simplicity. The matchup between the 2 and 3 seeds, Toli, just got that much more important with Flashpoint losing to the 4 seed.
That's right, dropping to 6 and 3 now, 3 and 6 on the other side for Outcold Gaming. These two teams still trying to fight against each other for that MSI.
Absolutely, top 2 coming in the midseason invitational. So this game is absolutely critical, especially for I think Queso, because not only do they could they get a win here, but they would give their direct opposition for second place a loss. Though maybe they have to be worried about Outcold on their heels as well at this rate. I don't think is Outcold eliminated from it. I don't think they are. I think they're they need some help.
They're close. Really close. Yeah, they do need a lot of help. Being 3 and 6 currently in at the end of week number 8 for them. So yeah,
gonna be tough for Outcold to turn the boat around and make it to midseason invitational, but still on the table for both of these teams. Well, let's start with Team Queso, because this is a team that I think had a lot of potential. Everyone was kind of excited about them. Then Alpha Jackal leaves to go and coach Space Station Gaming in the SPL. And the wheels haven't fallen off, per se, but I think there has been a noticeable drop-off for this team.
There definitely has. But Queso was able to win that best-of-3 set up against Simplicity in week number 6, I believe, without Alpha Jackal regardless. So it's still working out for them in terms of their mechanics, their playabilities together as a unit. Keep in mind this team stuck together between Season 5 and Season 6 and really showing off, I think, when they do pop off.
I mean, this team has a lot of potential. It feels like they're always doing something a little bit odd. They like their Warriors mid and things like that, which is certainly not exactly what everyone would normally be doing, but it works for them occasionally. It's just a matter of, are they going too weird? Are they going a little bit too off the beaten path? I think the balance is usually very necessary, but we can really expect a lot, I think, from Dracomarino. He has truly proven time and time again that he's a premier talent in the minor league.
A true traditional support is how I could describe Dracomarino. Always at the right place at the right time, bailing Warchi out of a sticky situation. But the other frontliners you can't discredit. I think Julio in that solo lane has been very creative in what he's been able to bring to Queso.
Yeah, now on the other side for Simplicity has had some moments of greatness, some moments of a little bit of disappointment, but overall has been fairly consistent, I'd say, more towards the latter. They've looked better more times than they haven't, but they won't have fails today. We've seen Froisan sub in for them a couple times in the past. He's going to be there in the jungle today, and Fails has been playing very, very well as of late. I think that's a pretty big loss for them.
I agree. The aggression from Fails is going to be hard to replicate from Froisan. We'll see how he stacks up to the likes of Queso, but the other members are going to have to step up in Fails' absence, trying to make it easier for Froisan to lead from that jungle role. DeathPanter has been playing some weird picks in the mid lane from time to time, the Chiron as of note, but Genetics playing the aggressive supports. maniaKK, whenever he can get Arthur, can really step up. But speaking of streaking up, that dual lane is going to be an important factor today.
Absolutely. I mean, Genetics has been a big part of Simplicity's success. StreakUp as well has been leading really heavily on things like the Chronos as of late. That's been a big pick for him. So Simplicity has their own kind of nuances that the other teams have to respect, and I think that Queso hopefully has done their homework in that regard. And I do think that the big thing in this set is going to be how well the sub in the jungle for Simplicity is going to perform, because jungle, as we always talk about, is the point guard of SMITE. I mean, he that's where all of your tempo goes, is where the jungler is.
Especially in Season 6, when the starts are trying to contest the jungle start, trying to invade the speed buff or harass the back camps, whatever you can do. So it's up to Queso to make Froisan's life a little bit more difficult today.
We'll see if they can do that. Picks and bans ready for game number 1. Simplicity on the top end. And Gibalanke, I don't think, got picked or banned all last set.
Wow.
Totally. In both games that we saw. I don't expect that'll be the case here, but Simplicity with a first ban Ganesh.
Up against Dracomarino. Doesn't surprise me in the slightest. His god pool is pretty vast. I don't expect him to be truly crippled by this one individual ban.
No, I don't think so either, but I mean, that is something that we just don't see. I mean, first ban Ganesh, they're in first pick, they get to throw one away, sure, and Draco had a really good performance on it pretty recently, but man, that really caught me off guard. Freya, on the other hand, a little bit more standard, though we are seeing teams move away from banning Freya or picking her super early in the draft, so it's been a little bit more contested in the actual picks. Is Kronos the other ban, so no Xbalanque ban, no Merlin ban either.
Ooh.
We've gotten away from King Arthur bans all game long, but this has been an interesting picks and ban phase so far. Very focused on individuals, not necessarily the overall meta.
I'm excited to see how Queso adapts to the Merlin pick, because they know what they're getting themselves into. You don't ban Kronos knowing that Merlin is not going to be stripped away. That's an immediate thought. So trying to go for some form of global damage with the Nuwa, not the safest in mid by herself. There's going to be needing to be some more peels for her. Dracomarino going to have to be around the mid lane.
Yeah, it feels like, I mean, Simplicity already have their mid laner. They were not picking Nuwa, though Genetics did play Nuwa support once, so maybe they could have. This just feels to me like Queso, they were like, we don't really know what we want, so just take Nuwa, it's safe. There's not a whole lot that really can make your life miserable. Just take this and let us see the rest of the draft first.
Sylvanus, though, being locked in by Simplicity. Not very common to see it this early in the draft phase. Knowing Xbalanque is still up. You got Hachiman Jingwei, depending on what you want. Jormungandr being fifth picked in the draft.
Wow, this has been a bit of an odd one so far. Hercules very early for Queso here as well. Now they've got some options. Could go, I mean, you're looking at potential anti-heal for Sylvanus. Odin doesn't look particularly appealing quite yet with the Jorm and the Merlin, both of whom can get out of that cage. Erlang Shen, on the other hand, plenty of CC, great at really abusing gods like Sylvanus that can't get out of CC easily.
Expecting WorstTurttle to play the Erlang Shen. We've seen this from time to time on supports, even in the solo lane, but if it's not in the jungle role, you're kind of asking for the Sylvanus to have a lot of freedom. So run the Erlang Shen in that jungle role, isolate the tree, and chop it down.
Do you really feel like that they were willing to pick Hercules solo this early on, though? I mean, I think this could be some flex pick towards support. I think that this draft is pretty open so far. I don't expect Erlang to go solo, and I don't expect Herc to go jungle, but they each could do both of those things, and that still leaves support, solo, and jungle kind of wide open on what could be potentially picked or banned.
Knowing Julio, nothing's out of the question.
Sure.
Julio likes to play whatever he wants and build the way he wants, and that's something that is Queso's strength, that solo lane. So I'm not too surprised that Hercules is drafted early. You don't really fight into the Hercules, and in Season 6, when you're trying to invade speed buffs, invade backcamps, that Hercules passive, he gets more power when you hit him. So he's going to win those 1v1s, 1v2s, maybe even 1v3s.
Certainly on the table. Love this Jingwei pick because I was going to say it looks great for Simplicity here, but it also looks pretty good for Queso. A couple knockups that you have to worry about. Even Merlin has a little mini knockup on the ult coming out of or into Arcane stance. So this takes it away from Simplicity number first and foremost, but it's already good for you as Serqet the selection here. Again, that is almost guaranteed to go into the jungle, and this will be for the substitute. So a lot of pressure on this Serqet pick. We saw Frostek do pretty well with it, but he did have a slow start, so hopefully he can avoid that.
It was definitely a slow start. There's still one more frontliner available for Queso, and I'll be damned if it's not Ardio, up against the Serqet and the Ullr.
Could be really good here for sure. Ullr, very different than the Kronos that StreakUp's played quite a bit of and was banned away from him. So he goes the kind of opposite route. Instead of playing for the heavy late game, he plays pretty heavy for the early game. Might try and bully out the opposition in that 1v1 that we've seen a lot of times in the duo lane these days, where the hunter's kind of left alone. This case, they're having a good long think about what they want to round out their draft. Could be a jungler, could be a support, could be a solo laner. It's going to be a jungler, I imagine, in the Habwa, though it could be in the solo lane. We've seen Zero do it in the North American side.
It still could be Habwa mid if we know that Nuwa's support, maybe. Hercules solo or Erlang Shen jungle. That could be the case.
It's Queso, man. You never know what you're getting. You never know what's inside the Queso. It just tastes good. That's usually what I say. But we'll see if it tastes good this time around. Queso up against Simplicity. Game 1 coming at you.
Thanks, Aggro. Thanks, Tolly. Finch and F. Dot here on the call as we move into Simplicity up against Team Queso. Team Queso and Simplicity both now have to kind of, I think they really want to make sure they're getting this win. We just saw the team up at the very top take an L, which means that it is easier than not to get up into that top 2 and make your way to MSI. All these games couldn't be more important as we get towards the end of this first phase.
Looking at the desk conversation here, John. A little bit more of a traditional composition than we might have expected from Team Queso. Support on the Hercules, and Hercules is going to use Blink to look for the speed buff invade, but it's going to fail.
And Dracomarino on the Hercules support trying to harass away from the speed buff. Can't stop them from actually getting it, but a lot of HP taken away from Froisan.
We've seen this strategy a number of times from a number of different teams, and I love the idea of the Hercules here specifically. His passive works out for what's going on here. Driving strike's incredibly impressive for both stealing and killing, just like that.
That was a good shot from Warchi because the Deathbane had actually gotten, I think, Froisan far enough away it would have been okay, but Warchi weaves it through, takes the kill.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, though. We've seen Fafnir kind of walk around and do that sort of thing. We've seen a lot of different picks. Hercules is the guy that you want to choose to go about and do that strategy. So Queso kind of picking the right god for the right strategy. Gotta love that.
And it ends up working out for them. They get up to a great start. As it is StreakUp on the Merlin, by the way. This composition's so all over the place, they haven't even been able to quite hit everything. DeathPanter takes the Ullr into the mid lane. So they still have a Hunter and a Mage, and the composition is still normal. It's just that they have this Merlin over here in duo. And it's really interesting. You know, I never thought of Merlin as particularly unsafe or under a lot of duress in mid lane, so do you need to really move him from there? Why have this Merlin over here in long lane?
At the end of the day, I mean, DeathPanter turning back a couple of pages is a Hunter player, right? So maybe you're just kind of putting the talent where it lies. StreakUp could just be a worse off Ullr than DeathPanter. You got to have the Merlin. You ask DP versus SU, hey, who's better at this character? And StreakUp's like, I am. You know, it could be as simple as that, frankly. So
sure. And maybe they want to give it over there to him. And they could also be trying to look maybe to play around some mid lane pressure. And that's a good reason to put an Ullr there. You'll definitely be able to out-pressure the new Wa with an Ullr there in the middle lane, and that can really set up for him and Froisan to make some plays. The only problem with that is, unfortunately, Dracomarino caught out Froisan early on and already put this Serqet behind. So if they wanted that mid-jungle pressure, they've already starting from a deficit.
Big fan of the Hercules support. I think it brings a lot. We've seen Aurora play it up in the Pro League once or twice recently. And historically, it's been a go-to selection for some of the more aggressive support players. The problem is, and you'll hear this euphemism a lot, hard to confirm. Hercules' stuff is simply put hard to hit, and that's why we don't see as much of him in the support role.
Sure.
But if you can land that Earthbreaker, if you can land that driving strike almost every time, I think this character is very, very strong in the support position, and that might even be underselling it.
And again, I think this is normally Fails who's in for them, right? Instead of Froisan for the Simplicity squad. So I'm sure they cover it on the desk, but just one more time, if you're just joining us, I want to make sure we let y'all know Simplicity not quite with that normal team, at least for this week. They did check in with Froisan, so it looks like they were at least expecting they wouldn't be able to have Fails for this
I like that name.
Froisan?
Froisan.
Give me 3 reasons why.
It sounds like Frazier.
I guess it does.
It looks like Froden. And
like the Hearthstone caster?
Yeah!
maniaKK able to find a nice knockup that gets him away from the pressure. He actually goes back in a bit, but he should be A-okay. All right, so he sounds like the Hearthstone caster. What's your third reason?
And it makes me think of somebody that's the combination of Froden and Frazier. Like, imagine...
That's kind of the first 2 reasons again, but okay.
Yes, but imagine Kelsey Grammer with blue hair commentating a card game. Oh, Niles. I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, it sounds like you just want Brian Kibler to dye his hair. That's really what it sounds like to
me. No, I want Shiro to dye his hair. That's what needs to happen.
That's just some card game fun we're having here.
I got the opportunity at TwitchCon last year to actually meet Kibler.
Yeah.
Who I'm a big card game player. I met him, LSV, Gabby Sparks, and a bunch of those Magic folks.
Yeah.
And I'm not big on like pictures and autographs and stuff like that, but I could not pass up an opportunity to take a picture with my favorite content creator. So I asked Brian if I could take a picture with his dog Shiro.
Exactly.
And he said yes. And it's funny because the picture was taken by Gabby Sparks, and so it's me, Shiro, I'm holding the dog, and Kibler's next to me, and I cropped Kibler out when I posted it to social.
As he would also have done, because he loves Shiro more than any of us. I also, yes, exactly. Well, Warchi felt like he was in some trouble. The ultimate comes out from the Rising, or from the Fire Shards, maybe just more from information really than anything, but they recognize it's not quite as much as they thought, and they fall back. At least the rest of Team Queso does. He likes to go with the Book of Thoth to get things started, so a bit slow, but he'll have a nice power spike for himself, as he hasn't been under much trouble so far.
Nuwa in a nutshell. If I'm honest, I want to start the game at like level 9 with 2 items already. So yeah, buy your Book of Thoth, stay on the tower, just shove out your fog and see what happens.
Sure. And we were talking about how Dracomarino was looking to be aggressive here on this Hercules, but it looks like Genetics had his eye towards some aggression as well. He went with the Blink to get started, as opposed to like sprints, horrifics, anything that could be a little bit more supportive for the team. I imagine this was for Blink Wrath of Terras, which can be very good initiations.
Right.
We just haven't gotten to see that happen just yet, as he's only hit level 5. So maybe Genetics might want to try and get a little bit antsy too.
Ooh, Earthbreaker off the mark.
Flicker's a good ability.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Remember when that cooldown was lower?
Yes. Doesn't matter, there's going to be a max cooldown anyway, so there's nothing.
Did you play test it on a 10-second cooldown?
I don't think I play tested it on 10. No, that's a lot.
That was not fun.
That's absurd.
That was unfun. Straight up.
So yeah, it could have been worse, ladies and gentlemen. Fortunately, it's not as bad right now. As things have been a bit slow throughout this early game, but Queso have managed to find themselves a nice lead, a little over 1,000 gold in their favor. So it's not just first blood. They've been able to find 1,000 the honest way just by farming this map better and a good bit of experience to their name as well. Not too surprising when you got an aggressive Hercules and a Hebo in the jungle. They've got plenty of damage.
And the scary part is that we haven't really said much about Hebo in the jungle or even Julio here on the short side. Dracomarino, even, we've been quiet about. If we hadn't seen the first blood come out of him, again, would have been a character that we just haven't mentioned. So to see Team Queso kind of amass this minor lead without really employing any of their real kind of spike cards, that's a big deal, because WorstTurttle, when he decides to turn up and do things level 7, when he finishes that Bancroft level 9 or so, he's going to kill someone, and it's going to be real difficult for Simplicity to deal with.
He sounded like a precog there, like from Minority Report. Like he's gonna kill someone. Like we got
going to kill.
We gotta get in there. Like I don't know, just have me kind of worried a little bit. But you're not wrong. If there's one thing that Hobwa does real well, it's kill. And StreakUp plays aggressive in dual lane, forces Chekio to use the ultimate defensively to get away. Chekio even went Aegis in this matchup here early on, not worried so much about control.
Yeah.
So he certainly could have used that cooldown too if he needed to, as Wrath of Terra comes out from Genetics. But looks like they're not going to continue too much, though. Nuance gone up. She could be in trouble of getting pulled. No, they find Draco instead.
He's going to dash on out of there, still gets zigzagged and gives his life. Good job, though, from the support to step in front of the carry when the pull was coming out.
That was critical, because Warchi would have definitely been in some trouble there if it hadn't been for that pull. Instead, though, Genetics able to find the Hercules, pull him back in, and Froisan right there to be able to follow up with that Deathbane damage. It's so much from the Serqet early on, whether it's on camps, whether it's on enemies. It's just a ton of damage he's able to do. They shred through Dracomarino, even with the Guardian's Blessing. To be fair, he didn't have a ton of procs his way. He went the Talaria boots to start, but a nice job from Froisan being able to clean that one up.
Exactly, and just good instincts from Dracomarino. I love the way he stepped in front of the carry, like I said earlier. That's the #1 thing. If Draco gets out, that's all well and good, but Draco's planning on dying there. And the death doesn't really matter much in the grand scheme of things. You can see the lead still intact. So that's, as long as Simplicity can't get anything off of that pick, that's all Team Queso is concerned about. Draco has caught up after he's kind of played the poke game all the way back at the beginning. Things are fine.
And that's why I highlighted that Blink for Genetics as well, right? Because he's able to play aggressively. I wonder how much they felt comfortable doing that because Chekio was forced out as well, and maybe they didn't have to worry about him rotating into the fight, though with rapid reincarnation you can get there quickly. Yeah. Either way, Simplicity saw their opportunity and absolutely hit the gas. The whole team was there. And because it's Sylvanus, you don't even have to commit that far positionally. Everyone else was kind of back by the mid camps, and they pulled them back in and able to find a nice pick.
If the pull doesn't hit, we don't necessarily have to see Simplicity surge forward. I think we see them walk away. That was really smooth moves. And you brought up the Blink a couple of times here from Genetics, and I want to kind of highlight why it's imperative, because this right here is the only initiation that Simplicity really have. Froisan is going to look to initiate on the back line one by one, not look for a whole teammate. By the way, level 9 completed Bancroft. WorstTurttle got that kill, baby!
And Froisan came in to even the score, though. DeathPanter's the one that got you actual credit. Big boulder coming his way, but Froisan jukes it. Fire Shard's not going to be enough without the extra damage from Dracomarino, and it ends up being 1-for-1, but that's support for jungler. Simplicity's got to be feeling good.
They got to be feeling good, but WorstTurttle gets his kill out there. He's 2 levels above Froisan. I'm feeling good because I just minority reported it.
That's right.
Genetics was the person of interest, by the way, to loop into a second
procedural type. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
When it comes to mediocre procedural mediocre police procedurals. That's my wheelhouse, baby.
You know, I found out my mom's really into the Rookie. A truly mediocre police
That's
procedural.
decent. That's below. That's on like Blue Bloods level.
She loves that show too.
Of course she does. Tom Selleck and his big old mustache. Blue Bloods, and it's not campy enough to meet NCIS.
Right, it's not all the way there.
It takes itself a little too seriously, but I mean, man, when the drama in the courthouse is real, right?
It can certainly get to some intense levels around here. But no, you were right to point out this power spike, man, for WorstTurttle, and they tried their best to play around it. Genetics has going to have to be careful because he doesn't have the extra defensive relic. He did at least get the Wrath of Terror off and set up for the rest of the team to follow up, but I wouldn't be surprised if Queso keep looking to try and exploit this tree before he hits level 12.
Exactly, because as I was talking before, the only real initiation we see is maniaKK, and that's going to be needed for Peel. Froisan is going to be on the back line looking to isolate some individual squishy. Genetics is blinking forward to go ahead and hit the Wrath of Terra. And maniaKK, like I said, is the one that's going to be having to help out StreakUp and DeathPanter, who, by the way, can largely peel for themselves, which is the bigger picture of this composition. You only have 2 initiators. Two of your backline are a little bit safer, so you can be over-aggressive. Simplicity is going to look for that, but the blink is a necessary evil that they can fall back on.
They really are going to have to make sure these carries are piloting it as carefully as possible to make this composition work, because it is difficult. Like, when does maniaKK, initiate it? When does he try and help in the backline? As WorstTurttle has to ult defensively, can't line up on Froisan, and that's too much damage from DeathPanter. Bladed arrow there on the mark, and WorstTurtle goes down. The next finds a pull as well, but that is a tanky Hercules, and can't lock him down just yet.
WorstTurtle gets kind of blown up there. Just real good play from Froisan, which, by the way, if you're gonna step in for somebody, this is how you want to do it. Real strong play. 0-1 and 3 for the Serqet support, or excuse me, the Serqet jungle so far.
We're just so used to its support. Yeah.
Blackthorn picked up, but Genetics could be in trouble. Again, that's the second time we've seen Warchi ult for information, and I love a new one that's willing to do that.
I wonder if they thought that pick might have opened gold or something like that, and
Yeah.
they were curious about the rotation for the team. So yeah, like you said, information gained from Warchi. And so they know that they're not in too much trouble, though these oracles will be going down in favor of simplicity. And I don't expect Queso to slow this pressure down. That was WorstTurtle that got picked in the jungle. It wasn't really a fight that Queso was looking for. He just got caught off guard. But they still have the Habla, they still have this Hercules, and then Warchi to clean up that damage on the back end. If Julio can make some rotations too, then this team can definitely still look to fight around now. I would be very surprised if they let up the pressure.
Absolutely. Team Queso kind of need to keep their foot on the gas, and right now is where Julio can start making rotations, and WorstTurtle can join him as well. Level 13, level 14, this Erlang Shen's got a number of points in his abilities, and he's kind of ready to rumble. He has that runic shield finished as well, so Jormungandr's kind of doing less damage, and if he actually makes it over to StreakUp, that'll work as well.
They've both gone kind of bruisery, even a little bit more than we normally see from our solo laners with some of these cost-effective items, right? Like, kind of cheating their way into the tankiness instead of like maybe Genjis and other things we see. So both of these solo laners are looking to provide plenty of damage in their own right as well.
And it's interesting because I love it for the picks. If you're going to play Jormungandr, you need to do damage. I say this a lot about characters like Chalk, some more relevant characters as well. Hercules being one of them. Erlang Shen could be. The problem is, or not necessarily the problem is, Team Queso doesn't need him to do damage. Your support is high damage. Your jungle is absurdly high damage. Warchi will be high damage in the late game. If Team Queso do wind up doing poorly, I will wind up looking at that front line and saying, could Julio have been tankier?
Sure. Whether
with his build or even a different selection.
I wonder what Draco's considering going into here, because there are a lot of knockups coming through from maniaKK and Genetics as well with the ultimate. Do you think a Stone of Gaia might be in the future here?
I don't hate it.
It's an item we don't see a lot, but it could work against this comp, potentially.
I don't hate it. Like you said, there's a number of knockups. You're looking at Sylvanus, most notably, when it comes down and you get knocked up by Wrath of Terra, you know you're in trouble. There's going to be a lot following up on that. So having that kind of burst of HP 5 is good. Hercules scales really well with health anyway because of the nature of mitigate wounds. It's going to be percentage based. So high health abilities and high health options also work out there as well. So I'm down. I wouldn't mind seeing the gem of...
Or the Stone of Gaia.
The Stone of Gaia, excuse me. Not quite pretty enough to be a gem.
No, I guess not. Just a regular stone. Yeah.
It's a rolling stone.
Can't hurt a Rolling Stone.
Lacko.
Could be some trouble, though, for DeathPanter. You could absolutely hurt an Ullr, but a great pull from Genetics brings Dracomarino right back in, and he doesn't have any help in the knockups yet. He goes down to the dot damage. Genetics showing up on the Sylvanus so far.
Another great pull there from Genetics. Can't really complain about that much. Ping's being brought out on the left side. Team Queso has to be aware of the Gold Fury. Froisan's going to eat a knockup, and that does a whole bunch of damage to him, honestly.
And they'll pull right into the Gold Fury. They've got tons of extra damage from StreakUp on the Merlin, and Froisan trying to keep them zoned out. It's enough. Simplicity secure the objective for themselves. Meanwhile, maniaKK had Julio and Warchi busy, and now they disengage with the rest of Simplicity. Queso can't keep up, but they might be able to strip a red buff.
I think that's a very big missed opportunity from Team Queso. They know that Genetics' ult is down. They know that Froisan's ult is down as well. Team Queso going to look for the fight underneath the tower, though, and after the fact, Chekio does take down the mid laner and the tier 1. So perhaps Team Queso were just looking for that objective instead of the team fight.
Yes.
But frankly, WorstTurttle had ultimate, and one of the biggest problems with Hebo is that when you use your ult, you're then stuck behind enemy lines and you kind of get jumped on. Froisan has no ult, Genetics has no ult. This is prime opportunity for Team Queso to go in just over the Gold Fury, take care of business, a steal, a team fight, a tower. I would have loved to see that. Team Queso play a little bit too safe for me.
At least get the tier 1 on the back end, and they might even grab the tier 1 here in solo as well, as the one in mid's at least gone down. So this is not too bad of an answer back, especially considering they got DeathPanter. Unfortunately, though, as much as I love Stone of Gaia, it's looking like we're more than likely getting Shield of Regrowth instead.
Which is also a nice option.
It's just not fun, though.
Oh,
Shield of Regrowth
it
is so
so
normal.
much fun. Shield of Regrowth is fun.
No, it's fun to play with. I'm saying it's not like a different, interesting, silly thing. Like
Which is different, interesting, silly in its own right. We've been playing SMITE here for 7-8 years now, and Shield of Regrowth has rarely ever really had its time in the sun.
Yeah,
so
there's
now
a time where Naja was able to get some good use out of it.
Yeah. And
Hercules
this is,
in the same
you know,
way.
I'm down. I don't even know if I call it kind of standard, regular, meta, normal.
Well, Fire Giant, this is anything but standard. And again, this is what Merlin can do so well for your team, especially when he's in that fire stance. Fire Giant already well below half, and it's only Julio who's nearby to try and get in. He goes to the 9 turns Blessing, but a great knockup and a pulled, but it's still not enough. Queso take away the objective, but Froisan wants blood. Warchi falls down the back end, but Froisan in trouble. It's 1-for-1 as Draco joins the fight.
Muy caliente, Team Queso steal the Fire Giant. They're going to take care of Genetics as well. 2 players down in Simplicity jerseys. And Team Queso, muy rápido, looking for more damage. WorstTurttle, there it is. Oh, the Aegis is good, but the Water Hands will be better.
No mas,
no mas. There's the one. See you later. Hasta luego, my homie. As Team Queso continues. I love it.
He ends up getting taken down. What a huge play from Queso to strip the objective. And for what it's worth, Genetics did everything he could to keep Julio off it. They just didn't have the burst in that small window. And now StreakUp might be in trouble. He flickers and actually does get away from the Boulder. Meanwhile, WorstTurttle falls to the pressure from maniaKK. The mid Phoenix is going to go down, and they should be able to make it out. In fact, they might want maniaKK too. Chekio burns the snake, and now Team Queso can finally leave. What a big play on that last push they made. Stealing the objective, taking the Phoenix, and finding a bunch of kills too.
Really, really clean stuff, but Simplicity might be able to answer back here. I like the blink in from Genetics. Doesn't have the ultimate ready, so just sort of blinks in and hits wisps. Team Queso jumping in more.
A big 9 turns Blessing from Julio takes beats from everyone. Genetics has the knockup, but Chekio's immune into the airstrike. That means Team Queso have to fall back, but the tick damage takes Chekio down. Even with the airstrike, he can't get away. So a nice return kill from Simplicity, but that was all Team Queso up and down this last sequence. And they still have Fire Giant on a couple members. That was Hughes to steal it away, but what a risky call from Simplicity to pull it in the first place.
I liked the call from Simplicity. Frankly, there just wasn't enough zone. Genetics did a great job. maniaKK needed to help out there, as did Froisan. But StreakUp, like you said, this is one of the reasons you pick Merlin. When you pick Isis, you want to go for those kind of shaky plays on the objectives. When you have Zeus, that's a character that you want to look for early objectives because you can burn it down with Lightning Storm. It's the same idea with StreakUp and the Fire Stance. When you put down the 2 fire pillars and then just Dracaris, your one out there, those, you're stripping protections from the objective. You're doing a ton of DPS as well. And that's one of the things that he brings to the battlefield. And if you're not utilizing that side of Merlin, I don't think really you're getting 100% out of the character. So I applaud Simplicity for that mentality, the thought process, and the game plan. But the execution just wasn't there. We needed to see a little bit more on the defensive side as far as zone control.
Could be trouble here for Julio. That's a great Cobus Kiss to interrupt the 72 transformations, but Julio has a ton of friends on their way. Dracomarino blinks in and StreakUp deleted. Froisan some trouble as well as Fire Charge brings him low. Julio, though, having trouble keeping up with the very fast Serqet, and she makes it out of there, but I don't know if the chase is entirely done. WorstTurttle wrapping around. If he can land a knockup, Froisan have little chance getting out. The Water Hands are too strong, and that's 2 picks for Queso as they keep up the pressure.
Hebo Las Vegas, just chilling. That's what a Hebo will do to you, baby. Just on the lower end of player damages, WorstTurttle starting to get involved now. And an interesting build here. I don't hate it.
This maniaKK might be in a bit of trouble. He's forced into the Ullr, and that's the right call. So he should be able to cleanly disengage. He'll get a little bit of damage, but yeah, these last 2 have got to be used to retreat.
So a lot of times, Queso's just going to get this gold sphere, by the way. A lot of times, the Hebo players will go, damage, 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 Breastplate of Valor, damage, 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 damage. And it's annoying, but sometimes it's an understood necessary evil. I like this adaptation coming out from Hebo that, one, he's able to do because he's absurdly far ahead. So he builds this Book of Thoth, 3rd item, which is annoying. Stacking, it's going to be lame. You're in the jungle first and foremost. It's 3rd item, so it's mad late. But when it eventually does get stacked, it will synergize very well with Book of the Dead, which gives you a shield based on your mana. And so these 2 items are here providing power and also sort of the pseudo-defensive option that we see Hebo kind of go for most of the time. So I like the mentality. I'm going to get hit. I need some defense, but I'm Hebo, and all I do is damage, so I better build it.
It does let him kind of cheat into more damage while still having some extra survivability, so it can be nice. But I want to go back to the Fire Giant, because you're right that Merlin can burn the objective really well, but I think there's 2 kind of ways that you can go for more risky Fire Giants.
Sure.
And one is by having the best secure on the map, so you know you can pull it no matter what.
Like
and the other is, or Kukulkan. And then the other is that you have like double Hunter, and you can burn it really well. And StreakUp falls way more there than in Confirm. So what really they need to be doing is sneaking in that situation. As soon as Queso were there, they don't have a traditional mage for better Confirm. So it is very difficult, I think, in that 50-50. But at that point, maybe they were just too far in to try and confirm it. So those are the 2 schools of thought about how you do extra Fire Giants, and they got stuck doing the Confirm one when they'd rather be sneaky.
Well said. Queso's going to look for the tower this time around on the right-hand side, and Dracomarino kind of leading the charge. Ton of damage going on him, but he don't care. He's just going to zoom his way back thanks to a heal. So Queso kind of pushing themselves, quickly a 10,000 gold lead.
Yeah, that Fire Giant play, it's the big play of the game, man. I mean, there's no other way to shake it up. That they were able to strip that one away. They went all the way down, got mid-Phoenix. All the tier 2s, it's so much gold on the map when you get that push. That's why sometimes when it's even, you see teams fight on the tier 2 to not let them get that free gold lead.
1,500 for a tier 2 tower.
That's right, yeah. So if there's 3 tier 2s, it's 4,500. Even a tier 1 makes it an even 5,000. And then you're that far out in front just from the structures alone. So now the question becomes, can Simplicity afford to wait on their Phoenixes, or they have to come out and contest this next Fire Giant?
I think the answer is no. The mid lane Phoenixes respawned.
Right.
The Fire Minions have been taken care of.
They can come contest.
Simplicity need to come contest. They are going to have trouble around the fight itself because of item differential.
This is good, though, right? Even if they don't stop it, if they can make them wait for the enhanced version, that feels like enough. Julio, though, not going to give them that time. DeathPanter's beads forced early. Denix finds a 2-man knockup of his own, but the boulder rolls through and finds good damage. WorstTurttle gets poked out as well on the backside, but they turn around on a maniaKK who has to go into the ult.
He's going right and finally realizes he has to avoid the enemy team. Team Queso has been doing a ton of damage to the Earthworm, so a nice job there.
They might have done their job, though, right? The easy Fire Giant is not going to be here long enough for them to be able to do it. They're going to have to worry about the enhanced version. And yes, they have a big lead, but we've seen it time and time again. It can be so difficult to do this enhanced version that maybe Queso have to wait now, or at least try and bait a fight outside of it. It likely won't be them just burning the objective.
Exactly. That's really what you're looking for, is making sure that the opponent doesn't have an easy time, obviously. Your job right now is to just get involved with what Queso are doing and try to mess them up as much as possible. You're probably not going to get the opportunity to make a play of your own, so the job is just kind of throw a monkey wrench at the opposition. Hope it lands.
Well, Julio will be the front line for the team. Checking in on the relic situation, there's none for DeathPanter. The 9 turns blessing from Julio was great to put pressure onto him, and he had to use beads and Aegis to get back out of there, so he'll be more vulnerable now than ever. There's no Aegis there available for Warchi either, but the fight gets started either way. Genetics is already low, but Draco can't find the pull, so Simplicity make it back out. But look where Froisan is, way on the backside of the fight, but he's on 2 wards. They definitely know he's there.
And that's why WorstTurttle is on the right side of the back. Not enough to be in the front line of the back line. SMITE's a 3-dimensional game. You got to be aware of all of your spatial orientation, and making sure to be far away from that Serqet is first and foremost in WorstTurtle's mind.
Simplicity, though, still buying themselves time to try and find some farm here. They can go over to the side lane and grab it from the solo lane and try and get farmed up and move right back in for the fight as Genetics can't find the pull. That was very close, but I don't know how much you really want to pull Dracomarino into the team either to look at it that direction, as now Simplicity the ones pushing forward, and they want the fight. maniaKK goes in the back line and brings Warchi down to half HP. Genetics blinks in and forces out the beads with the Wrath of Terra. He's been stunned out as well. They need the rest of the damage to get here. Warchi goes into fire shards, and Froisan's going to be right there to clean up. Cobra's Kiss, and maniaKK re-engages.
Warchi goes down, but Checkio is there to answer back. maniaKK's going to fall. It's a mid for a solo, and you're right, you can't do that. Team Queso are going to surge forward, and WorstTurtle is still around, healthy and ready to go.
But it seemed like maniaKK didn't trust Froisan to be able to clean up that kill. I don't know that he had to reinitiate. Now Genetics in trouble too as Julio locks him down. It's 1 for 2 in Queso's favor. And the way Dracomarino's moving with that shield of regrowth, he's not worried at all. He's going to keep on chasing. Simplicity have to fall back.
Hebo still had Blink, but the team call is to rotate over to the mid lane. I like the idea of playing it a little bit safer, slow the game down. You're able to make more mistakes, and your opponent is able to find more opportunities if things sort of spiral out of control and run away like a bullet train. Team Queso are just slowing it down. They're like, listen, if you come and try to engage on us every time, we're just going to Hebo you time and time again. When it goes awry is when Genetics lands the pull and everything goes willy-nilly and we don't know how to control things. So for Team Queso to kind of take a breather, I like that call. Back to base after getting Gold Fury, reinvest, look for another push, likely the Fire Giant. But this recollection is the most important part for me.
I'm so hung up on the back end of that fight, though, because that was actually not a bad initiation at all.
Yeah.
It very much caught Queso off guard. maniaKK coming in and finding the knockup and Warchi being brought low so quickly. Maybe Froisan calls for help there as the Serqet, and maniaKK reinitiates with that last hit, and that's why he ends up falling. But at the very least, they stall out the game for now. The Fire Giant's not gone down, which is still a boon. It should have gone down at 24 minutes for Queso free and clear, and Simplicity were able to fight them off. They still, though, are forced to come out and lurk around and be ready for the Fire Giant dance.
Pyromancer, not worth much. Glad Simplicity didn't take the bait there.
Definitely not worth going in and dying or wasting any cooldowns, that's for sure. As Draco goes in on the fog, being sneaky, can't quite, though, find StreakUp. And so he falls back. Team Queso, though, showing they've got plenty of ideas of how to get this fight started. They're well beyond the FG pit. Draco's just walking in looking for StreakUp, not even caring about maniaKK.
Draco is zoning players out to the right while the rest of the team zones out players to the left. If somebody comes to the middle, they just get stepped on. So Team Queso splitting up Simplicity, very important to prevent them from landing combos.
But Queso have to find a way to all in. They can't let these Sylvanus wisp heal, and that's all in for you. maniaKK removed, and yet again he falls. And Tom, you said it earlier, you wondered if these solo laners later on would be tanky enough in these fights, and I'm starting to worry if maniaKK is tanky enough.
Yeah, you know, maniaKK is one of the characters that, again, if Serqet goes tank, he can actually afford to be less tanky.
That's too much damage though from WorstTurttle. As Froisan gets deleted, Fire Giant, the enhanced version now in their sights. Genetics wants to blink in for the steal, but they baited him. They halted DPS and stopped him on the ring. Now the Fire Giant goes down on all 5 members of Queso, and it's just DeathPanter and StreakUp left, and they're not even particularly healthy. They've got to keep right on running. Queso should surge here.
Julio has the blink. Julio, excuse me. All right, not going to go for it. But that play right there was 100 IQ. I'll give 200 IQ if they planned the phase of the Fire Giant as well.
Well, they're going to move right into the Titan room, and I don't know if there's enough members up. They did just get maniaKK back to try and slow this down, but Queso have the Titan already at half HP, but they're starting to fall back, Tom. I don't think they can do this. They're going to look for the fight instead. Warchi in trouble as the snake comes in and flattens him, but it's not enough for the kill, and he has to use the third hit to retreat. Queso can't quite end and have to retreat.
I like the shot from Draco. That's the second time we've seen him kind of look for the Kenny Lofton from downtown. Not going to find it, though. But I like the mentality.
And I think for the most part, that's okay, right? For Queso, even though they end up losing Chekio and not completing the end of the game, they took down the right side Phoenix. And remember, the mid Phoenix is already weakened. They already grabbed that one. So it's not as if the Titan is going to be sustaining up yet until the right side comes back up. And they still have a really good chance to come in and push with Fire Giant on just about everyone but Chekio. Not too bad to go for that call. You might win the game, and if not, it's not the end of the world.
Exactly. Go for it. Well, what's the quote?
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and that's why WorstTurtle's taking his shot right here. WorstTurtle is able to get a big crushing wave, and DeathPanter pays the price. Fire Shards gets Aegis, though, and Froisan finds a return kill of his own. Boulder off the mark, thought it might bounce, and Genetics has to run for his tree life.
Yeah, Draco's been looking for those, like I said. I like it. Keep looking for them. Draco has to hit the driving strike. I don't mind if you're missing the ults, Draco, but you gotta hit the Falcon kick. Nice job, though, as Warchi cleans it up anyway.
This could spell trouble, though, as this mid-Phoenix pops up right when they were trying to move through. There's a right side fire wave moving in that has to be cleared as well. And Queso, even with that WorstTurtle, have plenty of damage. They might just move right on through to the Titan room and disregard the mid-lane Phoenix. It looks like that is indeed the call. StreakUp being controlled by Dracomarino, and no one's there to stop DPS on the Titan. Queso take game one, and it all comes back to the Fire Giant steal.
Yeah, this was an interesting one, kind of drawn up. We were looking for the Hebo. Things don't go the way early on, but that's kind of expected.
Sure.
And then once Hebo gets his itemization online, they're able to go ahead and continue finding some damage. And that was sort of the beginning of the end. And then Fire Giant happened, and that was the end.
Simplicity were looking good up until that point, I think, but Queso were able to get such a big lead off of it. It's not even just the Fire Giant goes down, it's the lead that gave them, and they're having a hard time fighting them on the back end. I also wonder about that push they made past the Fire Giant, where maybe that could have been a good play, but they end up losing maniaKK too.
Yeah, it's certainly a possibility. Something to think about, though, for game number 2.
Well, let's get it back over to the desk. We'll have them break down that game one.
Thank you, Finch and Tom. Queso end up coming back and taking this victory away. I mean, it wasn't Simplicity's guaranteed. Simplicity was in a good spot. They make a pretty risky call to pull the Fire Giant fairly early on in the game, and Queso come in and steal it away, and ever since that point, the game was theirs.
They were trying to sneak away some of the Gold Furies as well, which was successful. They had the same mentality transitioning to the later portion, which was not successful. It was a good attempt, but they just staggered a little bit too long there. They were like hesitating on how to burst it down. The Merlin damage is more about how long a team fight lasts for the true DPS to show off, not about that huge burst damage you're expecting.
Yeah, the Merlin ADC and Ullr mid was working out pretty well for Simplicity. DeathPanter had all 3 of the early kills for Simplicity, which is kind of what you're looking for, right, out of your Ullr mid to start pushing those leads. But then it just all comes back, and you heard Finch say at the very end there, towards that Fire Giant. After that, WorstTurtle was able to make a ton of plays on this Hopwa. He was really all over the place.
The Blink also, we're seeing the Hercules really starting to show off. I think Dracomarino on the Hercules was successful not only in terms of the pulls and the pushes, but also just a one stun onto Jormungandr in that late game. I think maniaKK survived for less than 2 seconds or died that quickly.
Here's that Fire Giant steal. Genetics and maniaKK doing what they can. Queso somehow stole that away. Warchi must have been the one who ended up getting it, because Julio was CC chained pretty heavily from there. This was a beautiful play, locking Genetics down on the Ring of Fire, truly in every way. And then they go back and secure the Fire Giant. From there, they secure the easy victory. From that point on, we were saying that we probably don't expect Erlang to go into the solo lane anymore. More of a support jungle god these days. Julio made it look great, totally. I mean, 2-0 and 10 was setting up all game long.
And he survived pretty well, I would say, in the solo lane up against maniaKK's Jormungandr. Didn't have any early struggles, transitioned into a good runic shield to be able to mitigate some of that damage coming from the Jormungandr. And once the team fights happen, Genetics' damages also started to get hurt.
Yeah, just not enough from Simplicity in this one. Froisan on the subbing in, playing Serqet in the jungle. Played okay. I mean, definitely didn't carry the game, but also
Sure.
I don't think made any fatal mistakes.
No, definitely not. I think that his early game presence was certainly felt. I like his mechanics being able to really go on to WorstTurttle, and then once he realized WorstTurtle was about to ulti with a crushing wave, he easily separated himself from that ability.
It was just enough to make it happen, though, for Queso on the other side. Dracomarino and this Hercules, the Shield of Regrowth, just kind of screaming around the map and making things happen on this selection. Not a ton of damage for him, but also not a bad number. Certainly low, but was still playing the support role.
23 wards placed for himself, and not only that, it's the threat of activation, right? You're looking at the pull, just the potential threat of being displaced to opponents' lines is not something you want to be, and that's why StreakUp was so far back, wanting to keep himself away from the action. maniaKK was trying to peel for himself as well, and that's what allowed that 29-minute Fire Giant to be successful.
Yeah, and when we saw the frontliner step up to Draco, particularly maniaKK on this Jormungandr, you mentioned it earlier on, that Jorm passive, he doesn't get pushed by the driving strike, but you still get stunned, and then you take 10% more damage from all sources. Warchi and the rest were able to capitalize on that pretty easily.